Hey everybody, a little nervous this morning, but I'm going to talk about writing my first science fiction novel in just a minute. But first, you've caught me at the beautiful Santa Ana River. So, what was the deal with last week's video anyway? I wanted to talk about that for just a second. I know that this channel is going through changes since COVID started, or at least since my hiking stopped. I've been hemorrhaging viewers. My guess is a lot of people wanted to see me hike or not hike. Anyway, I know that most of my videos now are viewed by a very small core of viewers. So I wanted to talk to both of you and let you know that, yeah, this channel has been through some changes if you look at it since its beginning. And after last week's avant-garde video, I got to thinking that maybe I should address that, which is what I'm doing right now. So yeah, this channel may not be that one thing you thought it would be. I know it's not that one thing I thought it would be, which was a huge moneymaker. So let me tell you what this is all about. And basically all this YouTube channel of mine is my playground. I mean, if you think about it, I have to focus for my books when I write novels. I have to really focus my mind. When I write DC Home, that's something that takes a lot of focus. When I do this, I turn on the camera and I talk. Maybe I'm hiking, maybe I'm talking about some weird philosophical thing in my living room, or maybe I'm just weird and in my living room. One way or the other, it's just me, Ken LaSalle, and I hope you enjoy it, and I want to become more engaged with you, so please leave your comment below if you can think of anything to say, because God knows I can't. But honestly, if you have some idea of what you would like to see on this channel or where you'd like to see this channel go, I am provisionally open-minded. So with that all said, thank you so much for your support as always, and let's get back to the idiot in the living room. So, good morning. As you may know, my name's Ken LaSalle. I'm an author out of Southern California, and I just finished writing my first science fiction novel, and I thought I would tell you a little bit about what that was like. It's a long story, and I'm going to try and fit it in under 10 minutes, right? So let's see. To start with, I started reading science fiction at a very young age. I was 9 years old, and I walked from my house in Santa Ana, California, to the McFadden Branch Library in Santa Ana, California. A little library on McFadden Street, just a little bit bigger than someone's home, perhaps. Now that I think about it, it's probably a little bit bigger than that. By the way, I have no coffee this morning, and I'm a little nervous because I haven't gotten comfortable talking about myself as an author, talking about what I do. It's still something that I'm a little skittish about just because I feel like I'm so full of shit when I do it. And I've been doing this for decades now. But I still, for some reason, can't believe that this is what I do for a living. Anyway, so I'm 9 years old and it's summer. So it's... To set the stage for you, it's 1974 or 1975, just like the artist. And it's summer, and my brother and my sister are complete jerks because they were. And I got out of the house. My mom was at work. This is how different things are now from the way things were then, 1975. Parents now would freak the fuck out. But my mom was at work and my brother and sister were being complete assholes. And so I walked the couple of miles from my house down Rate to McFadden and to the McFadden Branch Library. 2 miles was an astronomical distance back then. I'm never going to do this in 10 minutes, just so you know. It was an incredible distance back then, and I remember being really anxious, really nervous, a little bit afraid going that far. And I got to the library, and I don't think it was the first day I was there. In fact, I wanna say that I probably read through all of their Dr. Seuss before I even got close to the science fiction, okay? But the time came when I ran out of things to read. And so I found this book, and I don't know why I was drawn to it. I remember it being like a tome, and it was intimidating. And for some reason, my 9-year-old head, and by the way, I'm 54 now, so what's that, 45 years ago? My 9-year-old brain thought, I want to read this incredible tome of knowledge. And that tome of knowledge turned out to be Isaac Asimov's Foundation, the first Foundation book. And it took me all summer to read it, and I didn't understand a single solitary word of it. I remember being really impressed that I got through all of those words, but my comprehension was for shit. So cut to about 8 years later, and I'm 17, and I start really reading, like the reading bug is really hit. And for some reason or another, I decide I'm going to read Foundation again. And that's when I realized that when I was 9, I hadn't comprehended a damn thing about it because I was 9. So I guess the reason I'm saying this to you is because from a very young age, science fiction for me has been something that's really impressive, an impressive feat for a writer. Like I've never been that impressed. I mean, Kurt Vonnegut was my literary hero, but I wasn't impressed by his work as much as I was impressed by Isaac Asimov's work. Not that it was better, but it was far more daunting. Kurt Vonnegut was far more accessible, which at the time I didn't realize is also an incredibly impressive thing. So from an early age, I put science fiction up on a shelf. You know, they say that writing fantasy is making the impossible probable, while writing science fiction is making the improbable possible, which is actually harder to do. So I never in my wildest dreams dreamt that I would write science fiction. So cut to a few years ago, and I'm marketing my novel, Wormfood Island. Well, not so much marketing it, I shouldn't say that. I'm working with an agent to present it to publishers, and we're pushing it hard, and it was a hard book to sell, and eventually it did find a home. And yes, you can pick it up in ebook and paperback on Amazon, iTunes, Barnes & Noble, all that. But the agents that I was working with at the time wasn't the one who sold it. I actually ended up selling it to the publisher that I ended up going with. The agent, she at a certain point, she had to give up. They can only try to sell books for so long. And so at a certain point, she approached me and she said, okay, so much for that. What else do you got? So she wanted me to pitch her my next big thing. And so I sat down for a couple weeks, and I kind of fleshed out this idea that I had that at the time was called Parallel Nights, and the name of the book was Uniborg, which was an idea going way back to the 80s, but let's not get into that. Anyway, so I pitched this series called Parallel Nights, and it was very werewolf oriented. There was a lot of werewolf lore. And she didn't like the werewolf stuff. I didn't like the werewolf stuff. But unfortunately, I had one pitch. That was my pitch. She didn't like it, and so we had an amicable parting of the ways. I didn't sleep much last night. Or the night before. So we had an amicable part. And so I took that idea and I thought, well, I'll write it myself. And I wrote the first 2 chapters of the first book. And after writing the first couple chapters, I realized I hated everything about it. I didn't like where it was going. I didn't like where it started. I didn't like anything. So I ended up going into, basically, as a writer, you kind of take these ideas and you just break them up and you split them apart and you work with ideas the way a chef works with ingredients, the way a carpenter works with wood. You work with ideas. And so that's what I did. I just took it apart, rearranged it, threw away a lot of stuff, introduced a whole lot of new stuff, and ended up with Max Stedge. And I wrote Max Stedge in the time of the Uniborg long before this became an idea for a 9-book series. Originally, it was going to be a 3-book series, and it was just going to be Max Stedge. And I wrote that first draft, and I have this practice that I now engage in as an author, which is where I will take my idea and I will say, that's good. How do we elevate that? How do we make it better? Why, how do we get this to be to that level where now I want my books to be? And what I thought was, Max Stedge was great as a fantasy trilogy, but I didn't want to write a fantasy trilogy. There's lots of fantasy trilogies. It would get lost amongst the shuffle. And I didn't want it to. So I thought, how do I take this and I elevate it? And the model that I based the series on, that was born out of the Max Stedge series, which became the breakthrough, the model I used was the Marvel Universe, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel, which was to have a cast of characters bigger than the book could fit. And that way, I have a cast of characters that weaves in and out of the storyline, in and out of the series. One book is not just one person, although the first 2 are, because you have to start somewhere. So that's where this all came out of. And I knew that in order to do this right, in order to do a shared universe correctly, I have to take what's in the first book, Max Stedge, fantasy novel, and do just the opposite or just as different as I can in the second book. Let the reader know immediately that this is going to be something different. And then at the end, or in the third book of the series, tie it all together, which is a book I'm going to start writing in a couple weeks. But let's not get there just yet. So for the second book in the series, I chose Sue Jorgensen, Queen of Space, a book about a woman whose child is kidnapped, and she is on a rescue mission to get her son, which sounds so much like so many other things. You could say it's Taken with a female lead, but it's very different. And I'm really proud of that, that I've been able to take what, for me, has been a very, to write in the science fiction genre has required me to step quite a bit outside of my comfort zone. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would do that. And knowing now that I actually have, it's really very cool. And as an author, it's one of those writing in a genre that you have not written in, working outside of your comfort zone, working in a new arena, is always so much fun. You find out so much about your own self, your own talent, your own skills. And also, you get to find out what your writing looks like in this medium. And it's very exciting. It's very cool. So without, ow, I bit my lip. I do that all the time. Without giving too much away, or anything else away, I thought I would give you a little bit of what's to come. I'm at 13 minutes already, so we're already well over 10 minutes. So what happens next now that I've written this first draft? Well, you aren't. I stammer a lot. I wouldn't recommend you hold your breath just yet, waiting for it to come out. It's going to take some time. Books take a while to get out. So what I would say is right now, pick up Maxed Edge in the Time of the Uniborg, which is the prequel, which is book 1 in the series. It's not the prequel, it's just what came before. It's book 1 in the series. Sue Jorgensen, Queen of Space, is book 2. Read book 1 and you'll be caught up and ready when book 2 comes out. Right now I have 3 books that are waiting for publication. The first book is Little Mike, and that will come out at the end of this year. I'm getting it back from my editor in a couple months, so that is slated for this year. The next book is the second book in the Work of Art series, which is going to take a little while longer to release. That will have an audiobook component with it, so that'll come out sometime next year. The third book is Sue Jorgensen, Queen of Space. I'm hoping maybe end of next year this will come out. So you have a year and a half to completely catch up. Unfortunately, it takes that long. I've got to go through rewrites. I've got to go through edits. I've got to go through recording. And when you're working alone, you got to do everything yourself. So that's it for my first science fiction novel. It was just so much fun. I can't even begin to tell you. I decided from the onset to keep things very local. So most of the book takes place on or around Earth, because I've got 9 books, right? So you don't start where you end. You've got to build. So this is the building process. And it's just a hell of a ride. And you'll hear a lot more about it on future videos. And I hope you stick around. Thank you so much for watching. And I hope you are taking very good care of yourself. I hope you are wearing your mask. I hope you are staying indoors if you can. Be safe. Be good to yourself. Be kind to others. Let's make this world a better place. And I'll talk to you in a week. And that's it. Thanks for coming around, and I hope you subscribe, click the like button, and connect with me on all that social media business on the screen. Oh, and there's a book. Take care.